women are hosting Virginia on Saturday at noon in Lax. The men are at Virginia Saturday at 1 o'clock in Lax at Klockner Stadium down in Charlottesville. So looking forward to that. Of course, you can hear Tim Leonard with our next guest, Kyle Fetterly, over on TK99 on Saturday, starting at 12:30 with pregame and getting going with the face-off just past 1 o'clock as we bring Kyle on. Now, Kyle, on Saturday, you're bumping your Yankees to Sunny 102. So just know that's all on you, that the lacrosse is bumping the Yankees off TK on Saturday.
Well, Central New York has priority.
That's true.
That's the truth. And I'll tell you something. Biggest crowds in college lacrosse at the JMA Dome, without question. Syracuse leads it. I was looking at the NCAA stats, and the funny thing is, Brian, is Syracuse right now has drawn 30,000 people for all games. Mm-hmm. Okay. Second is Virginia at 9,000.
Wow.
So yeah, I mean people come out. The women are no different. I mean, the four top largest crowds in college women's college lacrosse are all right here in the Dome. Yeah. So I mean, they had a program record of I think around 3,900 Saturday. So people in Central New York, you're right. We do preempt the Yankees.
Yes.
This is a lacrosse town.
So Cuse Lax on TK on Saturday. The Yankees radio right now is over on TK. Your Yankees are up 2-1, Kyle. So 162-0 is still in play halfway through the opener. So you're in good shape right now.
They may not win a game all year.
Little faith in what's that was high off the. Who was that? Somebody on the Yankees, I don't know who it was. Just who do you got named Rice? Some guy named Rice just got a double. So you're cooking in the fifth right now.
I wish it was Jim Rice.
He was pretty good. Jim Rice. I know him. I don't know who this Rice is. Whoever this guy is batting eighth for the Yankees, but he just put one off the wall out and right. All right, what do you make of the Cuse? Last time when we talked, Kyle, I think it was right after the Maryland game, and it was like, all right, things go haywire against Maryland sometimes, and then you lose the Harvard game right after, and you've been clean since then, at least in the win-loss column. Are you still feeling, the potential of this team? Has anything changed in your mind about this Syracuse team in the last month or so?
Well, you know something, Brian? I vote in Inside Lacrosse's top 20, and I do the mid-season All-Americans and end-of-season All-Americans, all that. And one thing after studying all of this for the last 3 or 4 weeks, one thing's for sure: everybody's good, and if you don't show up to play, you're going to get beat. Mm-hmm. And it's that simple. And you're seeing it all over the country, especially this past weekend was just a conglomeration of just teams getting beat left and right. I mean, ranked teams, highly ranked teams. And as I was doing the top 20 poll this past Sunday night, I was looking. There were 12 top 20 teams that lost on Sunday. So, I mean, the thing is, I always use this analogy of a funnel. The big part of the funnel is all the talent, great talent around the country, high school talent. And then the neck is where the opportunities are to go play. And there's not a lot of those opportunities. So that talent pool has spread way back into the field, so to speak. And now you're looking at Division III kids, in the transfer portal that, got missed, quite honestly. But they're real good players, So the men's game the landscape has really, really changed a lot in the last few years. And it's crazy right now. I think Syracuse is as good as any team out there. I think Syracuse can win against any team that's out there. I also know that they can get beat, too. I mean, when the playoffs begin, it's going to be who's come to play. But the one upstart and surprise, I think, over all of this is Ohio State. Mm. Ohio State, I saw them play already twice this year. And the amazing thing about it is Ohio State is big, athletic, and fast. I don't think they have superstars on the roster, but they have beaten Penn State, at Penn State, Denver at Denver, Notre Dame at Notre Dame. They beat Virginia at home. And this is a good lacrosse team out there. So Columbus, Ohio's got, and they're kind of I guess you might call them the Cinderella, so to speak, because they've never really done much. But boy, they're doing a lot of damage this year. They got a great team. But you look around, Cornell, Maryland, Princeton, North Carolina, you name it. Notre Dame, Cuse, Penn State. I mean, even Richmond. Richmond's got 3 losses in the top 10, all by 1 goal, and one of them was in overtime. So Richmond's another. Talent is everywhere, and you can get beat if you don't show up to play.
Yeah, Ohio State, I believe they lost their opener and haven't lost since. Like they've been absolutely cooking here over the course of the last month and a half. I go back to last Saturday, kind of a crazy game with Colgate, especially the style Colgate plays, promotes crazy lacrosse, and Joey Spallina was ready for it, right, man? On Saturday, he goes 5 goals and 6 assists. Statistically, for sure, it's the best game he's had. Is that, eye test? Is that the best you've seen Joey play in his career so far?
Yeah, well, probably yes, only because of the points, but he was very, very clutch, too. The one thing I compare Joey to, I know he's a capable goal scorer. Everybody knows that. Where he positions the ball to when he's feeding it and assisting on goals, he reminds me totally of the great John Zalberti. He puts the ball where you can handle it, the best. And that's why I think I really he's spectacular in my mind. And I know, I lot of I read the social media too. And I said this last year when Tim and I were doing a game when he said Joey's getting a lot of heat. I said, would you rather have him or not? And I'd rather have him. He is a terrific player. I won't tell you right now. I'm not going to tell you everything, but I put him on my first team All-American list. I think he's that good. He's a difference maker out there on the field, and he makes other people better around him. He's just a fantastic player.
You look at him, and he's still on pace right now to set the Syracuse career scoring record. He's on pace right now, 2.5 seasons in to better what Mike Powell did points wise over the course of his career. Not saying he's better than Mike, but it tells you the stats he's putting up. And now, and the single game numbers he did last game, Kyle, is the most anyone scored in a game for Syracuse. Going back to, go figure, Casey Powell in what still probably goes down to the best regular season lacrosse game of all time, that Virginia game back in '97, which is fast closing on 30 years old now. And here you go down to Virginia this week. What are you making of Virginia? It's just weird to see them struggle like they've struggled this year. This is not what we are used to when we think of the Cavaliers.
Well, the one thing, Virginia ran into a lot of preseason injuries. They lost 4 starters to knee injuries or lower body injuries, I should say, that put them out for the season. And they've had to readjust. But as of late, they're coming on, okay? And like I said, they're kind of now, okay, boo-hoo, woe is me. Those guys are hurt, this, that, and the other thing. But now all of a sudden, they're feeling their way back into this. And believe me when I tell you, they've got talent everywhere on that field. One of our former players' son, Ryan Colsey, plays down there. He's the second or third leading scorer. They got this kid, Truett Sutherland, that I've never heard of, and he's leading the team in scoring. And, of course, the 5-star kid, McCabe Millen, he's out there. This is a good team. An All-American Griffin Schultz out there at midfield. This is a real good team. They lost a little bit in the net, last year and on defense for sure. And then they had all those injuries, and they struggled early. They haven't struggled late, okay? This is a very good lacrosse team. And, I always call it, Brian, the game. And only because of Syracuse, Virginia has got such a legendary history of 1-goal games and 2-goal games and coming down to the end. And I think you were with me the day they both teams pulled their goalie in the first quarter. It was that bad that the scoring was getting crazy. I think you and I were both doing that game. And so, it's a lot of highlights. And, of course, the game it was the 97 game that you referred to, I call the game because that put Inside Lacrosse on the map. The magazine and because back then, before then, It was basically a sheet of paper that was handed out that people paid $5 for the season, and they had about 1,000 subscriptions around the country. And it was really like a 2 or 3 page paper pamphlet that got mailed out. Well, they came up on a Friday night, the Inside Lacrosse people, with Rob Carpenter then owned it at the time, and they brought their photographers, their writers, and they were treated to one of the greatest games ever played, where Syracuse beat Virginia 22-21, when Casey Powell in the second half put the entire team on his back with 7 goals and 6 assists, and that was blown up so bad. They had pitchers, they had writers, and everybody's like, my God, I got to see a tape of that game. This and the other thing. A couple weeks later, the Sporting News bought Inside Lacrosse and turned it into a magazine, and now it's digital, although they do sell magazines, but it's digital now, and it's turned into what it is, and now it's like they're the foremost authority. They cover college and high school lacrosse, men and women, like no other article. That even USA Lacrosse isn't as thorough as Inside Lacrosse.
We got Kyle Fetterly with us, getting you ready for QCent Virginia this Saturday, 1 o'clock face-off at Klockner down at UVA. And, man, Kyle, like there's been a lot of games up to this point, but here we go, 5 weeks in a row. Virginia, Notre Dame, Cornell, Duke, Carolina. Like this is a daunting stretch here. What do you, when you zoom out and look at this next month, what hits you with what Syracuse has coming up here?
Lace them up, Gordy. You're going in. You know, I mean that's all you can say. It's this is why you come to Syracuse. You come to Syracuse for Kayla Trainer said it in the locker room. You come to Syracuse the other day against Notre Dame. You come to Syracuse to play in front of these crowds, to play this type of schedule. That's why you come here. And you know what? If you're not competitive, if you're not a warrior, don't come here. Because this is the type of thing. We play in the ACC, Brian. You know that. You and I, when all the games we've done, it's a rock fight when you get in the ACC games. They're usually 1-goal games. Every now and then you get a blowout. I get that. But they're usually 1-goal tough games, and everybody's still alive in the ACC for a potential bid at the NCAA. So it makes it probably more important to Virginia than it is to Syracuse. But Syracuse doesn't look at the players here. They don't look at it like this. They know they're in for a dogfight down in Charlottesville. So, and then and then after you, after you get done with them, now you've got another foe on your hand, and it just gets crazy. Cornell, who might have the best player in college lacrosse, and C.J. Kurse, and they're number 1 in the country. So, it just gets the schedule gets brutal. The players get brutal because think of this. You've got Virginia, Notre Dame, Cornell, Duke, and North Carolina. Now, Virginia's unranked. Okay. Notre Dame is number 6. Cornell's number 1. Duke is 12. And North Carolina's number 3.
That's it.
It's not for the meek, but that's why you come here. But the funny thing is like, Tim and I were talking last week on the air. Those teams got to play that schedule too. Okay, so it's not just Syracuse out there. Carolina's got everybody here at the back end. So does Notre Dame. So does Virginia. It's all these teams in our league all have to play each other, and they are in the Big Ten, as we saw last week. Last week on air, I sat there and said, listen, I don't expect Maryland to lose to Michigan, but I won't be shocked if Michigan beats Maryland, and they did. And the reason is because it's league play, and the kids all know what's at stake. Rutgers beat Johns Hopkins. I'm not shocked at that. It's league play out there, and on and on and on. Penn State got beat, again, for only the second time this year. And who they get beat by? Of course, Ohio State. So league play out there is brutal. And you better be ready to lace them up and go. From now on, there's no rest. There's no rest at all for any of these teams. And guys that get hurt. I always say this at the beginning of the year. The team on February in that first game, the team you see today will not be the team you see in May. And it's that simple. March Madness, well, the madness is here, dude, because new players get hurt, adjustments are made. We're moving you from midi to attack. We're moving you from short stick midi to close defense, whatever. All these adjustments get made during this time, and you get a different look from May than you do in February. And that's what's exciting about this sport. They're not just great athletes, they're great lacrosse players.
You mentioned that Maryland-Michigan thing. Michigan has beat Maryland 4 straight times. It's just one of the strangest damn stats in the last few years of Lax. You mentioned Kayla Trainer, Kyle, as we wrap up. Women have Virginia this Saturday, too. They've had a very young team. They've had a strange season, but they've won 3 in a row here. What do you make of the ladies right now?
Well, right now, the first thing I said when this season began, because I go to their practice time is conducive to when I can go, and when I can get out of here, because usually it's in the evening. Mm-hmm. And I'll tell you something right now: losing Olivia Adamson was huge, and the team struggled at first. You lose, an All-American, but all of a sudden, now it's like, okay, she's gone. Woe is us, boo-hoo. Now we got to figure it out. They've got a very, very young team out there. I mean, 3 of your top 5 goal scorers and points producers are freshmen. So, I mean, that just gives you an idea. And actually, 4 out of the top 6. So, I mean, they're freshmen and they're young. They're excited. They're always fired up. And, we knew there'd be some growing pains, without question. But we've had a goalie to bail us out all season long, and Danny Guyette, and she's been pretty much solid all season long. So, and our defense has been playing well. So, bottom line, we just had a girl got named to the Thornton watch list, Coco Vandiver. So, I mean, it's exciting. I mean, Emma Ward is still Emma Ward. That's all
she's really good.
No, she's really good. And she's like, I talked about Spalina, same type of player. Puts the ball where you can handle it. And the one thing about her is she's a bulldog. She is as tough as a bag of rusted hammers. I'll tell you right now, she's not afraid to mix it up in there with everybody. So it's going to be interesting to see how they progress here down the road. But they've got a good team, and do I really think they can win the whole thing? Well, they'll need some help, without question. I won't fool anybody with that. We always think we can win here, and our goal is always to win the national championship. It's like I always say, we don't have men's and women's lacrosse at Syracuse. We have lacrosse at Syracuse, and that's it. And so all we ever talk about here is winning the national championship.
It is the only goal that ever comes up. I don't know what I've done with my bag of rusted hammers, Kyle. I seem to have misplaced it.
Something, Brian. Every year it's the same old thing. I always say the same thing. Everybody says I'm crazy. I don't care if we win the ACC tournament. I want the gold ring on Memorial Day. That's what I want. So I mean, and don't get me wrong. Winning the ACC tournament is very prestigious. I'm glad we have a tournament like that, and we get to knock heads around with one another. But at the end of the day, they don't remember who won the Big Ten last year. Do you know who won the Big Ten last year?
I have no idea.
Michigan.
Okay.
But nobody remembers that. But they sure as hell remember who won the national championship last year. And that's the thing with lacrosse. You want to win the gold ring at the end of it all.
Yeah, and that's Notre Dame, and they'll be in the Dome in a few weeks. For sure. All right, man. Always great to chat. Enjoy the Aberdeen Barn tomorrow night. I'm certain that's where you're headed without knowing your plans whatsoever.
Where else is there to go down there?
Yeah, I don't know. It's a Lenten Friday. You'll have plenty of room, but you can make your hay down there. All right, Kyle. Enjoy Charlottesville. Thanks for hopping on.
You got it.
There he is, our guy, Kyle Fetterly. 1 o'clock face-off Saturday. Cuse and Virginia, always entertaining. Down at Klockner, 12:30, Orange pregame with Kyle and Tim. With that, we'll step aside for a few. Much more to come after this on this hour, brought to you by William Battar here on Q Sports Talk and ESPN Radio.